Some buildings are beautiful, some buildings are historic, and some tell you exactly how society wanted to present itself. This is one of those buildings, the Antiguo Casino de Puerto Rico. The Antiguo Casino de Puerto Rico is not a fortress, not a church, not a government palace. It was built as a social club, and that is exactly why it matters. Because you want to understand how Puerto Rico's elite lived, celebrated, and saw itself in the early 20th century. This place tells you a lot. Hello everybody, welcome back to another great episode of Chronicles and Cocktails. I'm Josue, the spirited historian. And today we are talking about one of my favorite buildings in Puerto Rico, the Antiguo Casino. This is one of the most elegant buildings in San Juan, one that began as the social center of the Puerto Rico criollo elite, later passed into the hands of the United States Army, then became home to music and culture, and today still lives as one of the great event spaces of Puerto Rico. The Antiguo Casino de Puerto Rico was built in the early 20th century and became the social center of the criollo elite of its time. Historical reference material in our research identifies it as one of the best examples in Puerto Rico of the Beaux-Arts style, favored by Puerto Rican architects of that period. Promotional descriptions also emphasize its Spanish and French influence. Its gardens, balconies, white marble floors, extravagant central staircase, moldings, and 12-foot chandelier. This is the kind of place that was meant to impress before you even walked inside. And it still does. To understand why this place was built, you have to understand San Juan society at the time. There were already social clubs in San Juan. Some, like the Union Club in Miramar and other country clubs in Condado, were usually frequented by Americans living on the island. Others, like the Casino Español and the Casa de España, received peninsulares. But the Puerto Rican bourgeoisie lacked a space of its own for its activities. So in 1910, a group of citizens who would later form the Asociación del Casino de Puerto Rico, asked San Juan Mayor Francisco del Valles Atiles for land to establish a Puerto Rican social club. That is the origin of this building. Not as a tourist site, not as a museum, not as a public monument, as a Puerto Rican social club. The legislature granted them a lot on Avenida Ponce de León, today Avenida de la Constitución, facing Plaza de Colón, where the Puerta de Santiago or Puerta de Tierra had once stood before being demolished in 1897. That was not a minor location.
I'm standing right in front of what used to be the gate to the old city, Puerta de Tierra.
This was a prominent site at the entrance to the walled city, surrounded by cultural and governmental buildings. In other words, they were not building this in some forgotten corner of San Juan. They built it here at the threshold of the old city in one of the most visible and symbolic parts of San Juan. That tells you how serious they took this project. Construction began in 1913. The original design was by Del Valle Seno Hermanos, with a budget close to $80,000. But the money was not enough, and the contract was cancelled. In 1914, after obtaining a loan of $24,000, the board hired the engineering firm Jimenez y Benitez to finish the project. But in 1915, the work stopped again because of lack of funds. Then came a second loan, $50,000, and sculptor José Albrizio was hired to redesign the interior, replacing some of the more expensive finishes with more economical ones. Finally, on June 24th, 1917, during the Fiesta de San Juan, the building was inaugurated. That part matters because this building was not thrown up quickly and easily. It was financed, halted, reworked, adjusted, and completed only after persistence. That makes it even more interesting. It was built with ambition, but also with limits. This is where the building really starts talking. The historical sources in my research describes the Antiguo Casino as a Beaux-Arts structure, a style taught at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris between 1885 and 1920. That style combined classical and Renaissance elements to create an image of luxury and splendor. The same source says the preference for this style represented a reaction against American architecture inspired by Hispano-Californian designs, also called Spanish Revival. Promotional and venue descriptions, meanwhile, emphasize the building's Spanish and French influence. So, the cleanest way to put it is this. This is Puerto Rico. This is a Puerto Rico landmark built in a style tied to European academic taste, with the elegance, ornament, and theatrical effect that early 20th century elite architecture was supposed to project. The building has a rectangular plan with 3 balconies on the main body and a facade facing Avenida Ponce de Leon that includes a vehicular entrance. The first level is comparatively sober, with grooved wall treatment and smaller windows. The second level is a much more decorative. Corinthian columns, oculi, garlands, consoles, French doors, and ornamental elements such as cartouches, tablets, panels, and blasons. The composition is crowned by a wooden dome clad in copper. 5 balconies surround the dome, 3 of them functioning as porticos. Inside, a central staircase leads to salons decorated with mirrors and reliefs. The walls were painted to imitate marble. The ballroom has a chandelier hanging at 12 feet. Current descriptions also highlight white marble floors, abundant natural light, giant chandeliers, gardens, a fountain, and the building's photogenic quality day or night. This is not restrained architecture. This building was supposed to be seen. In its early years, the Antiguo Casino hosted numerous parties and social events, including debutante balls and carnival dances. That is the original life of this place. Celebration, ceremony, prestige, social ritual. And honestly, this is part of why it still works so well today as an event venue. It was built for gatherings, for presentation, for movement, for spectacle. That was its purpose from the start. But the story does not stop with parties. In 1943, the structure passed into the hands of the United States Army, which used it as a social club for the United Services Organization. specifically for officers. After the Second World War, the government of Puerto Rico acquired the building and installed the Escuela Libre de Música. From 1955 to 1970, it housed the first headquarters of the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña. In 1980, a restoration was carried out taking the original plans into account. And from 1982 onward, the Antiguo Casino has housed the Government Reception Center, named after the last president of the Casino Association, Dr. Manuel Pavia Fernandez. That is a remarkable second life. From the elite club to the United States Army Officers Club, to music school, to cultural institution, to government reception center and event venue. Same building, very different chapters. Today, the Antiguo Casino remains active as a private event venue under the administration of the Puerto Rico Convention District Authority. It is still known for elegance, celebration, and splendor. The descriptions of this venue emphasize its versatility for weddings and private events. It's a blank canvas quality for different styles of celebration. Its patio with gardens and fountain, its balconies, marble floors, chandeliers, windows, and the visual beauty of the building both by day and by night. And that continuity is the real story. This place was built to host life's formal moments. More than a century later, it still does. The building has 109 years since it was opened, and the best weddings in Puerto Rico are celebrated in this venue. Government and high official events are celebrated here. If you want to get married in this very historic building, you can do so. And you can contact MGT Events. They do all kinds of weddings in all kinds of venues in Puerto Rico, most of them very historical. So, if you're a history buff and want to get married in a 500-year-old city, in a 109-year-old building, MGT Events. And of course, I say that with pride, because my wife is the wedding coordinator and planner, and she's done many events all over the island. Recently, she was at Antiguo Casino. So, if you like history like me and want to get married in a very historic building, this is it. This is an original Chronicles and Cocktails cocktail, inspired by the building's role as an elegant social salon. There is no historical documented signature cocktail in this research. However, I'm gonna invent one. So for this episode, I'm doing an original drink inspired by what this place actually is. Formal, polished, Puerto Rican, and built for celebration. In this recipe, we are going to use 2 ounces aged Puerto Rican rum, a half ounce of French Vermouth Blanc, a 1/4 ounce orange liqueur, 2 dashes orange bitters, and a lemon peel. We're gonna stir with ice until cold. Strain into a cup. Puerto Rican rum anchors the drink here. The French vermouth nods to the beaux arts world and the European elegance associated with the building. The orange liqueur and bitters give it a brightness and polish, the kind of lift you want in a drink tied to a grand salon. This is not a rustic drink. This is a dressed up drink for a dressed up place. elegant, subtle. Places like this show you how societies represent themselves, not through speeches, through buildings. The Antiguo Casino tells a specifically Puerto Rican story, but not a small one. It sits in Old San Juan, the second oldest urban center in the Western Hemisphere. It was built by Puerto Ricans who wanted their own institution in a city already divided among other social circles. Its style draws from European academic architecture. Its site stands where one of the old gates of this city once stood. Its history passes through Puerto Rican high society, U.S. military use during the war years, music education, cultural preservation, and public ceremonial life. That is not provincial history. That is Atlantic history, urban history, architectural history, and the history of a society defining itself in public view. So, thank you for watching. Have a great Sunday. Have fun. Read a lot. Get smart. Go to church and salud.